Alex Winters stood with his wrists bound in energy cuffs as the prison transport ship docked with Helios 9. Through the small viewport, he could see the massive ring-shaped station orbiting a dying red star. Its metal surface was scarred and worn, much like Alex himself after 3 months in transit. "Move, human," the guard behind him growled. The Arachnian officer prodded Alex with an electric baton, his 8 eyes narrowed with disgust. Alex stepped forward without complaint. He learned quickly that arguing only made things worse. The wrongful conviction for sabotaging the Galactic Alliance outpost on Proxima B had been just the beginning of his troubles. The airlock hissed open, and a wave of stale, recycled air hit him. The gravity felt lighter here than Earth standard, which might be the only small mercy in this place. 2 more guards waited on the other side, both Arachnians with their characteristic blue exoskeletons and multiple limbs holding various weapons. Between them stood a tall, thin alien with pale green skin who appeared to be some kind of administrator. Prisoner 37,826, human male, convicted of sabotage resulting in loss of Alliance property, the green alien read from a tablet. He looked up at Alex with large, pupilless eyes. "You are the first of your kind to grace our facility. I hope you'll find the experience educational." The guards laughed, a clicking sound that sent shivers down Alex's spine. The processing was quick and humiliating. They took his transport jumpsuit, scanned him thoroughly, and issued him the standard prisoner uniform, a gray one-piece made of thin, scratchy material. The uniform was clearly not designed for human anatomy, being too tight in some places and too loose in others. "Your species is so inefficiently designed," commented the medical officer who performed his intake scan. The officer had 4 arms and skin that shifted colors as he spoke. All that soft tissue, so little natural protection. Alex said nothing. His 3 years as a Marine and 5 years working as a deep space miner had taught him when to keep quiet. They led him through corridors filled with the most dangerous criminals in the sector. Aliens of all shapes and sizes stopped to stare at him. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 40 Earth years ago. "Fresh meat," someone called out in the common galactic language. "Look soft," another voice added. "I heard they break easily," a third chimed in. The guard assigned to escort him to his cell block seemed amused by the comments. "Cell block D7, he announced, pushing Alex through a heavy security door. "Home for the next 5 years, human, if you survive." The cell block was a 3-level ring of cells around a common area. Most cells held 2 or 3 inmates, but Alex was led to a small single cell at the end of the lowest level, the least desirable location, right next to the waste processing unit. "Special accommodations," the guard said mockingly. "We weren't sure what would happen if we put you with the others. Might be bad for your health." The cell door slid open, and Alex stepped inside. It contained a sleeping platform, a toilet, and a small sink, nothing else. Before he could turn around, the door slammed shut behind him. Alex sat on the hard platform and took a deep breath. He was alone in a prison filled with aliens who either hated humans or saw them as fascinating new playthings. From the common area, he could hear laughter and voices. Through the small transparent section of his door, he saw a group of large reptilian aliens looking in his direction. Their scales glinted under the harsh lights, and their yellow eyes narrowed as they studied him. Alex recognized their species from the transport ship's database. Vrexians, known for their strength, territorial nature, and short tempers. The largest one, his scales marked with distinctive red patterns, locked eyes with Alex and smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Alex knew right then that his troubles were just beginning. 3 days passed before Alex was allowed into the common area with the other prisoners. He sat alone at a small table, studying the strange food on his tray. It was a gray paste that smelled like wet cardboard. "You won't survive long eating like that," a voice said. Alex looked up to see a blue-skinned alien standing beside his table. She was slender with silvery patterns across her face and four-fingered hands. "I'm Ilara," she said, sitting down across from him. "Novan engineer. What did they get you for?" "Sabotage," Alex replied quietly. "But I didn't do it." Ilara laughed. "No one here did anything according to them." Her expression turned serious. "Listen, human. You need to watch out for Kraz and his gang. The big Vrexian with the red markings. They run this block, and they don't like newcomers, especially strange ones." Alex nodded. He had noticed Kraz and his followers watching him since his arrival. "Thanks for the warning. Eat the corners of the food block first," Ilara advised, pointing to his tray. "That's where the nutrients are concentrated. The rest is just filler." As she spoke, a shadow fell across their table. Alex looked up to see Kraz towering over them, flanked by two other Vrexians. "Making friends with the soft skin, Ilara," Kraz said, his voice a low rumble. "I thought you had better taste." Ilara's blue skin darkened slightly. "Just giving some advice. We were all new once." Kraz leaned down, bringing his face close to Alex. His breath was hot and smelled like metal. "Humans don't belong here. Your kind barely belongs in space." Alex met his gaze but said nothing. He had dealt with bullies before, both in the Marines and in the mining colonies. Showing fear would only make things worse. Kraz seemed irritated by Alex's calm. With a swift motion, he swept Alex's food tray off the table. "Oops," he said with mock concern. "Looks like you're done eating." The Vrexians laughed and moved away. Other prisoners who had been watching quickly returned to their own business. "That could have gone worse," Ilara said quietly. Alex nodded. "It will." Later that day, Alex was assigned to work duty in the station's recycling plant. The work was hard but familiar enough. Sorting materials and operating machinery wasn't so different from his mining days. He was finishing his shift when three of Kraz's gang cornered him between two large processing units. "Human," one of them hissed. "Kraz wants your work boots. Says they look comfortable." Alex looked down at his standard issue boots. They were the same as everyone else's. "I need them for work," he said calmly. The largest Vrexian shoved him against the wall. That wasn't a request. Alex stumbled but kept his footing. The lower gravity made it easier to recover his balance. "3 against 1, he asked. "Is that the Vrexian way?" The comment made them pause. Alex used the moment to assess his options. The narrow space between the machines limited their ability to surround him completely. "We can do this one-on-one if you prefer," the lead Vrexian said, stepping forward. "The result will be the same." Before the situation could escalate further, a loud buzzer sounded, signaling the end of the work shift. A guard appeared at the end of the corridor. "Break it up," the guard called out lazily. "Back to your cells." The Vrexians backed away, but the leader pointed at Alex. "This isn't over, human." That night, Alex returned to his cell to find his few personal items scattered and his thin mattress slashed. On the wall, someone had scratched a crude drawing of what appeared to be a human skull. As Alex cleaned up the mess, he heard soft footsteps outside his cell. Ilara stood there with a small package wrapped in cloth. "Extra rations," she whispered, sliding the package through the narrow food slot. "You'll need your strength." "Why help me?" Alex asked. Ilara's silver facial markings shimmed in the dim light. "Because I've seen what happens when everyone turns a blind eye. And because I'm curious if humans are really as adaptable as the stories say." After she left, Alex sat on his damaged mattress and began to eat the extra food. As he chewed, he carefully observed the cell block through his door's small window. He noted the guard patrol patterns, the location of security cameras, and the social dynamics of the prisoners. Knowledge was survival, and Alex Winters intended to survive. 2 weeks passed. Alex fell into a routine: work, meals, and exercise in his cell. The harassment from Kraz and his gang grew worse each day. They stole his food, pushed him in the corridors, and spread rumors about humans being weak and cowardly. Alex endured it all silently. He was gathering information, learning the prison's layout, and building his strength. The lower gravity meant he could do more push-ups, sit-ups, and other exercises than would be possible on Earth. Ilara continued to help him, sharing extra food and warning him about Kraz's plans. She taught him useful words in different alien languages and explained the complex social rules of the prison. Why do the guards let Kraz get away with so much? Alex asked her one day during their work shift. The Arachnian guards don't care what happens to prisoners as long as we keep working, Ilara explained. And Kraz bribes them with contraband from outside. That evening, as Alex returned from the shower area, he found a small metal object hidden under his pillow, a makeshift knife crafted from a broken machine part. He quickly hid it in a crack in the wall. He didn't know if Ilara had left it for him, or if it was planted there to get him in trouble. The next morning, Kraz was waiting for him outside the mess hall. "Human," the Vrexian said loudly, drawing the attention of other prisoners. "I heard your planet is mostly water because your kind needs to wash away your stink." The other prisoners laughed. Alex tried to walk past, but Kraz blocked his way. "I'm speaking to you," Kraz growled, shoving Alex backward. Alex regained his balance and looked Kraz in the eyes. "I just want to eat my breakfast in peace." Kraz's yellow eyes narrowed. "Peace? You don't deserve peace. You don't even deserve to be here among real spacefaring species." For the first time since arriving, Alex spoke back. "Being a bully doesn't make you superior, Kraz. It just makes you a bully." The mess hall went quiet. No one spoke to Kraz like that. The Vrexian's scales darkened with rage. "You'll regret those words, human." Later that day, Alex was cleaning an unused storage room when the door slid shut behind him. The lights flickered off, plunging the room into darkness. Alex turned quickly, his back against the wall. "Time to teach you your place in the galaxy," Kraz's voice came from the darkness. Alex could make out 5 shapes moving toward him, Kraz and 4 of his gang. They had followed him and trapped him in a place where no guards or cameras could see. 5 against 1, Alex said calmly. "And you still needed to turn off the lights." "The darkness is where your kind belongs," one of the Vrexians said. "Primitive creatures hiding from real predators." They rushed him all at once. Alex dodged the first punch, but took a hard hit to his ribs from another attacker. Pain shot through his body. He stumbled and fell to one knee. The Vrexians laughed and surrounded him, taking turns hitting and kicking him. Alex tried to fight back, landing a few solid punches, but he was outnumbered. "Not so tough now, human," Kraz taunted, landing a heavy kick to Alex's stomach. Alex tasted blood in his mouth. His ribs felt broken, and his left eye was swelling shut, but something inside him refused to stay down. Years of marine training, of surviving harsh mining conditions, of living in Earth's heavy gravity, it all built a resilience these aliens didn't understand. When Kraz kicked him again, Alex grabbed the Vrexian's foot and twisted hard. Kraz yelped in surprise and pain. "Enough games," Kraz snarled. He pulled out a shock rod stolen from a guard. "Let's see how humans handle electricity." The first shock hit Alex like fire in his veins. He fell back, his muscles spasming. The Vrexians took turns shocking him until he could barely move. "Leave him," Kraz finally said. "If he's still alive tomorrow, maybe we'll continue the lesson." They left him lying on the cold floor, battered and barely conscious. The door slid open and closed as they exited. For several minutes, Alex didn't move. Then, slowly, painfully, he pushed himself to his hands and knees. Blood dripped from his face onto the floor. He managed to stand up, using the wall for support. His body screamed in pain, but his mind was strangely clear. He had survived worse during marine training. Alex limped to the door, leaving bloody handprints on the wall. His face was a mess of cuts and bruises, but his eyes held something that would have made even the bravest Vrexian pause. Not fear or defeat, but cold determination. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. News of the beating spread through the prison quickly. Most expected Alex to hide in his cell or beg for protection. Instead, he appeared at breakfast the next morning, his face bruised and swollen, but walking on his own. He sat at his usual table and ate silently. The other prisoners watched him with new interest. "You should be in the medical bay," Ilara said when she joined him. "The medical officer doesn't treat humans," Alex replied simply. Ilara studied his injuries. "How are you even standing?" Alex shrugged. "Earth has stronger gravity than most inhabited planets. Our bones and muscles develop differently, and I was a Marine before I was a miner." Across the mess hall, Kraz and his gang watched with surprise. They had expected Alex to be in much worse shape, perhaps even dead. An old prisoner with gray skin and 4 eyes sat down next to Kraz. "You've made a mistake with that human," he said quietly. Kraz snorted. "We taught him a lesson." "Did you?" the old prisoner asked. "I worked on a trade ship that visited Earth before I was arrested. Humans are not like us. Their planet is a death trap by our standards. Violent weather, earthquakes, dangerous animals, disease. They fought wars against each other for thousands of years. Their history is written in blood." Other prisoners nearby listened with interest. "They're soft and weak," Kraz insisted. The old prisoner shook his head. "They seem soft, but they're built to endure pain. Their bodies can heal from injuries that would kill most species, and they never forget those who hurt them." Later that day, in the work area, Alex approached a small machine in the corner. It was broken, with warning signs in several languages. "Don't touch that," a guard called out. "Maintenance droids will fix it." "I can fix it now," Alex said. "I worked with similar equipment in the mines." The guard hesitated, then shrugged. "If you break it more, it's your problem." Alex opened the machine's control panel. His hands moved with practiced skill despite his injuries. Within minutes, the machine hummed back to life. The guard looked surprised. "How did you do that?" "Humans are good with tools," Alex said. "We've been using them for our entire history." Word of Alex's technical skills spread. Soon, other work crew leaders were asking for him specifically when equipment broke down. This gave him access to different parts of the prison and more tools. In his cell at night, Alex began a new exercise routine. He practiced movements adapted from Marine combat training, modified for the lower gravity. Each day, his injuries healed a little more, and his strength returned. Ilara visited him during free periods, bringing information. "The guards are talking about you," she told him. "They're surprised by how quickly you're healing." "What about Kraz?" Alex asked. "He's angry that you're not hiding in fear," Ilara said. "But some of his followers are nervous. There are stories spreading about humans, how your kind survived nuclear wars, how you can live through terrible injuries." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "Most are exaggerated." "But not all," Ilara said, studying his face. "The bruises from last week are almost gone. That's not normal for most species. Human bodies adapt," Alex said simply. That evening, Alex found a small package hidden in his workstation. Inside was a data pad with prison schematics, showing blind spots in the security system, guard rotations, and areas where cameras didn't work. A note in Ilara's handwriting read, "Knowledge is power." From his cell, Alex watched Kraz and his gang. They were watching him too, but differently now, with caution mixed with their hatred. The beating had been meant to break him. Instead, it had revealed something about humans that made the other prisoners uneasy. In the shower area, Kraz gathered his closest followers. "The human is becoming a problem," he growled. "Some prisoners are starting to respect him. We need to finish this." "Maybe we should leave him alone," one Vrexian suggested. "The stories about humans are just stories," Kraz interrupted. Next work shift. We end this permanently. No survivors, no witnesses. What Kraz didn't see was the small maintenance droid in the corner of the shower room. The droid that Alex had repaired last week. The droid whose audio sensors picked up every word and transmitted them to a small receiver hidden in Alex's cell. Alex listened to Kraz's plans and began to prepare. This time, he wouldn't be caught by surprise. Alex spent the next day gathering small items from around the prison. A length of pipe from the recycling plant, cleaning chemicals from the supply closet, torn strips of cloth from his spare uniform. To most eyes, they looked like trash. But in his hands, they became something else. He memorized the layout of the shower area from Ilara's schematics. 6 entry points, poor lighting, no cameras. No wonder Kraz had chosen it for the ambush. When his work shift ended, Alex headed to the showers as usual. The room was eerily empty. Normally, at least a few prisoners would be there. He knew what was coming. He removed his uniform and stepped under the lukewarm water spray, keeping his back to the wall. He had hidden his makeshift weapons in a loose panel near the sinks. The main door slid open. Kraz entered with 5 other Vrexians. They carried improvised knives and shock rods stolen from the guards. Alone at last, Kraz said, his voice echoing in the tiled room. No one to help you now, human. Alex reached for his towel calmly. 6 against 1. You're learning. Kraz's yellow eyes narrowed. You won't leave here alive. We'll make it look like a fight between prisoners. The guards won't care about one dead human. As they spread out to surround him, Alex noted each of their positions. The Vrexians were confident, moving casually. They didn't see him as a threat. Last chance to beg, Kraz said, raising his shock rod. Alex looked at each of them in turn. His voice was quiet but clear. I won't be the one begging today. Kraz gave a signal, and they rushed him from all sides. What happened next stunned everyone in the room. Alex moved with a speed and precision none of them expected. He ducked under the first attacker's swing and struck back hard, hitting the sensitive spot where Vrexian neck scales met their skull. The alien dropped instantly. The second attacker came at him with a knife. Alex caught his wrist, twisted sharply, and used the Vrexian's momentum to slam him face first into the wall. The sound of breaking bone echoed through the room. What? Kraz began, but Alex was already moving. He reached the hidden panel and pulled out his pipe. The third and fourth attackers hesitated, suddenly unsure. Alex didn't give them time to reconsider. He swung the pipe in a Y arc, catching one Vrexian across the knees. As the alien fell, Alex kicked him in the jaw with enough force to send teeth flying. The fourth attacker backed away. This isn't right, he hissed to Kraz. He fights like a deathmatch champion. Kraz roared in anger and charged, shock rod crackling with energy. Alex sidestepped, grabbed Kraz's arm, and used the Vrexian's own weight to throw him over his shoulder. In Earth's gravity, the move would have been difficult against the heavier alien. Here, it was almost easy. Kraz crashed into the shower controls, breaking them. Water sprayed everywhere. The fifth attacker tried to flee. Alex threw his pipe with perfect accuracy, hitting the Vrexian in the back of the head. He fell forward, unconscious before he hit the floor. Only Kraz and one other attacker remained standing. The other Vrexian looked at the bodies of his friends, then at Alex, who stood calmly amid the chaos, water streaming down his body, eyes focused and alert. Demon, the Vrexian whispered, backing toward the door. Kraz struggled to his feet, bleeding from a gash on his head. Fight me, coward, he screamed. Alex walked slowly toward him. This ends now. Kraz swung wildly with his claws. Alex caught his arm, twisted it behind the Vrexian's back, and forced him to his knees. Listen carefully. Alex said into Kraz's ear. I could kill you right now, but I won't. Instead, you're going to spread the word. Humans are not to be crossed. We don't start fights, but we finish them. He applied more pressure to Kraz's arm until something snapped. The Vrexian screamed in pain. "Do you understand?" Alex asked. Kraz nodded frantically, his earlier confidence gone. Alex released him and stepped back. "Get out." The remaining Vrexians dragged their injured friends from the shower room, leaving Alex alone. He calmly finished his shower, dried off, and put on his uniform. By the time the guards arrived to investigate the disturbance, Alex was back in his cell, reading a datapad as if nothing had happened. The security footage from the corridor outside the shower would later show 6 battered Vrexians limping away, while a single uninjured human walked calmly in the opposite direction. The day after the shower room fight, everything changed. When Alex entered the mess hall for breakfast, conversation stopped. All eyes turned to him. He got his food tray and walked to his usual table as if nothing had happened. No one sat near him except Ilara. "The whole prison is talking about you," she said quietly. 6 Vrexians are in the medical bay. Kraz has 3 broken bones. Alex ate his food calmly. It won't bother anyone again. News spread beyond cell block D7. Prisoners from other blocks found excuses to walk past Alex's workstation or glimpse him in the corridors. Guards watched him more closely, their hands never far from their weapons. Kraz remained in the medical bay for 3 days. When he returned, he was different. Quieter, his yellow eyes darting nervously whenever Alex was nearby. The red-scaled Vrexian, who once ruled the cell block, now stayed close to the guards. "What did you do to him?" Ilara asked Alex one day during work shift. "I showed him something he didn't expect," Alex replied. Fear. In the prison yard, an old 4-armed prisoner approached Alex. "I served on a ship with a human crew once," he said. "They told stories about their homeworld. Storms that could level cities, oceans deep enough to crush most species, animals that could tear through metal. I didn't believe them until now." Word of the fight reached the prison warden, a tall Arachnian with black and gold markings. He summoned Alex to his office. "Prisoner 37,826, the warden said, looking at his datapad. "You've created quite a stir in my facility." Alex stood at attention, a habit from his Marine days. "I defended myself, sir." The warden's multiple eyes studied him. 6 trained fighters against 1 human. Yet you walked away without a scratch, and they required serious medical attention. He paused. The security footage from the corridor shows only the aftermath. "What weapons did you use?" "No weapons," Alex said. "Just training and physics." The warden leaned forward. "I don't like mysteries in my prison, human. I'm placing you in solitary confinement for 1 month." When guards came to escort Alex to solitary the next morning, something unexpected happened. Prisoners from 3 different cell blocks stood in their doorways, watching silently. As Alex was led through the corridors, maintenance workers stopped their tasks. Kitchen staff paused in their duties. The message was clear. The human had earned respect. Punishing him would not be popular. Halfway to the solitary cells, the warden himself appeared. "Return him to his regular cell," he ordered the guards. It seems solitary would cause more problems than it would solve. Later that day, Ilara found Alex in the library section. "Do you know what they're calling you?" she asked. "The human predator. Some say humans evolved from apex hunters on Earth." Alex smiled slightly. "Not exactly true, but close enough." "Kraz is telling everyone that humans are dangerous," Ilara continued. "That your kind hides your true nature behind friendly faces. Is that what you think?" Alex asked. Ilara's blue skin flickered with patches of silver, a sign of deep thought among her species. "I think humans are complex. You could have killed Kraz and his gang, but you chose not to. That shows restraint, not bloodthirst." In the following days, Alex noticed changes in how he was treated. Guards addressed him with new caution. Prisoners who once ignored him now nodded respectfully when he passed. Even the food servers gave him slightly larger portions. Most surprising was what happened when a new prisoner, a nervous, bird-like alien, was bullied by a group of inmates. Alex merely stood up from his table and looked in their direction. The bullies immediately backed away, leaving the newcomer alone. Ilara laughed when she saw this. "You've changed the balance of power without throwing a single punch." "Sometimes the strongest weapon is reputation," Alex said. That evening, as he returned to his cell, Alex found a small package waiting on his bed. Inside was a new data pad with security clearance levels no prisoner should have. A note from Ilara read, "Ready to do more than just survive." Alex smiled. For the first time since arriving at Helios 9, he wasn't just enduring. He was planning for the future. 6 months after the shower room fight, Helios 9 was a different place. Alex sat in the common area, surrounded by a diverse group of aliens. Some were former victims of Kraz's gang. Others were skilled workers who appreciated Alex's technical knowledge. Together, they had formed an unofficial council that helped settle disputes among prisoners. "The air filtration in Block C is failing again," said a tall, thin alien with green skin. "Many prisoners are getting sick." Alex nodded. "The warden keeps ignoring our requests to fix it. It's time for more direct action." Using the data pad Ilara had given him, Alex organized a peaceful protest. The next day, prisoners from all blocks refused to work. They sat quietly in their cells, following Alex's instructions to remain calm and nonviolent. The guards were nervous. Nothing like this had ever happened in Helios 9. The warden called Alex to his office. "End this now," he demanded. His multiple eyes narrowed with anger. "The prisoners will return to work when proper safety measures are put in place," Alex replied calmly. "Starting with the air filters in Block C." "Or what?" the warden asked. "Or I release the evidence of guard corruption and unsafe conditions to every Galactic Alliance embassy," Alex said. "Ilara helped me compile quite a file." The warden stared at him for a long moment. "You have until tomorrow to get everyone back to work. The repairs will begin today." True to his word, maintenance crews began fixing the air filtration system that afternoon. The protest ended peacefully, with prisoners returning to their duties the next morning. But something important had changed. The prisoners had found their voice, with Alex as their unexpected leader. 3 weeks later, disaster struck. A power surge damaged the prison's main reactor. Warning alarms blared throughout the station. "Evacuate to emergency shelters," guards shouted, herding prisoners through the corridors. Alex and Ilara were working in the maintenance section when it happened. Emergency lights flickered as the main power failed. "This is bad," Ilara said, checking a control panel. "The backup systems aren't responding. If the reactor goes critical—" "It won't," Alex interrupted. He pulled up schematics on his datapad. "I worked on similar systems in the mining colonies. I can stabilize it, but I need help." Together, they raced to the reactor control room. Guards had abandoned their posts in the panic. Alex studied the controls quickly. "The cooling system is offline," he explained to Ilara. "We need to redirect power from non-essential systems and manually vent the excess heat." For the next 2 hours, they worked frantically. Alex's experience with Earth mining equipment proved invaluable. His hands moved confidently over alien technology that shared basic engineering principles with human designs. When Galactic Alliance emergency crews finally arrived, they found the prison intact and the reactor stable. Security footage showed Alex and Ilara working together to save the station. The incident triggered an official investigation. Inspectors discovered the poor conditions, the corrupt guards, and most importantly for Alex, evidence that he had been wrongfully convicted. The real saboteur had been identified on another world. 3 months later, Alex stood in the warden's office one last time. His prison uniform was gone, replaced by civilian clothes. "The Galactic Alliance has officially pardoned you," the warden said stiffly. "You are free to go." Alex nodded. "And the other reforms we discussed. Safety inspections will be monthly. Guard training has been improved. Prisoner abuse will not be tolerated, the warden recited, clearly unhappy but powerless to refuse. Outside the prison, a transport ship waited. Ilara was there too, also pardoned due to her role in saving the station. "What will you do now?" she asked. "Start a legal advocacy group for wrongfully convicted prisoners," Alex replied. "And you?" "I think I'll join you," Ilara said. "Someone needs to help you understand alien legal systems." As their ship pulled away from Helios 9, news of what happened there was already spreading throughout the galaxy. The story of one human who entered a notorious prison, survived brutal attacks, united the prisoners, and changed the system forever. Years later, across countless worlds, the phrase "pulling an Alex" entered the galactic lexicon. It meant standing up to bullies despite the odds, or more specifically, gravely underestimating someone based on appearances or prejudice. On Earth, when asked about his prison experience, Alex would simply say, "I taught some aliens about humanity. They were quick learners."